when I climb into a racing car, it's like a guy being given an injection. You know, all pain and everything disappears. You've been given an anesthetic and you lose all relation to grief, to pain, to emotion outside of what you want to do, what you want to get out of that racing car. And ever so often, the anesthetic wears off, and there you see the cold, hard, horrible world that you're involved in.
Jackie Stewart, motor racer, 3 times Formula One world champion, winner of 27 Grand Prix between 1965 and 1973.
I'm not sure why at the moment our team is more superior than others, or why I win more races than other drivers. I think it's because of preparation, it's because of management, it's because of teamwork, really. And of course, my own experience maybe has something to do with it.
But there was a price to pay for his success. A horrific succession of accidents that took the lives of many of his closest friends. Tragedies that gave him a mission in life: to make motor racing safer.
The problem is that they've known for 9 months that this race is going to take place, and they've chosen in the last 7 days to resurface a racetrack. Now this is very unfortunate, and I have the total sympathy for the organisers, for the club, and to some extent for the track owners. They've tried very hard.
They've done nearly everything what we asked for safety.
But unfortunately, it's also their fault that they did not resurface before.
The complete professional, the ultimate perfectionist, the first to recognise and come to terms with the modern era of motor racing.
Racing drivers are entering a new era of business and racing. It's even a little bit of show business. So I think that the new drivers of today are going to be better than the ones of yesterday. Certainly the drivers of the future are going to be more professional.
Waste of time, so excuse me.
John Young Stewart was born in Dumbartonshire, Scotland on June the 11th, 1939. His grandfather was a gamekeeper. His father owned a garage. First the gun, then the wheel were to become his life. Before all that, he had school to contend with.
The unhappiest years of my life were unquestionably my school years, because I was such a disaster. I just couldn't learn in the traditional fashion. I was just identified as stupid, dumb and thick by all my classmates, by my teachers, by everybody. Even my family were terribly disappointed by my lack of effort or concentration, and sadly it turned out much later in life to be diagnosed as dyslexia, which is a learning disability. And when I look back in those frustrating years at school, painful because you were abused mentally as being so unable to keep up. I look at an old scrapbook here, which is really one of my prized possessions, and I see the spelling and the writing. It's so childlike and so inadequate. I mean, here we have Cooper on the lead instead of in the lead, and I see it's at the Brighton trials. Italian Grand Prix. Now, here's typically dyslexia. It's G-A-R-D. I've flipped the words around, and I've missed out an N totally. I didn't think there was a future in my life. It was so doom and gloom. And of course it's all turned out to be a very accountable reason. And both of my sons, Paul and Mark, were dyslexic, and Mark more severely than Paul. And he's got a high IQ and he's very talented in certain areas. But it's just a question of driving around the obstacle. And I was able to do it because God gave me a pair of hands to drive a car and pull a trigger, and gave me a hold in life. I mean, God knows what would have happened to me if I hadn't been given a chance. And that's why today I work so hard to help learning disabled young people, because it can drive them to crime, it can drive them to suicide, it can drive them to unhappiness in the very mildest form. And yet it can be fixed nowadays, and is being.
Jackie's interest in motor racing was stoked by his father at his garage, by his brother Jimmy, who was 7 years older and was a leading driver of the 50s, and by his mother, who liked driving a fast car herself. But shooting was Jackie's first sporting passion.
I started to shoot clay pigeons and was able to shoot very well from a very early age, from about 14, quite successfully, and started to compete at that age. Suddenly, for the first time in my life, I was really good at something. And I put more into my shooting in retrospect than I ever put into driving racing cars. Because here was a challenge that gave me a reason to have some self-respect.
He brought home a cabinet full of trophies, but one very special honour eluded him.
I was reserve for the Olympic team in 1960. And I suppose looking back in my career, there is no question that my biggest disappointment was not losing Indianapolis or losing the Belgian Grand Prix with 1 lap to go, or all of these other disappointment one gets, was not making the 2-man Olympic team in Rome, because I was firmly in there as the second member of the team until my 21st birthday, the very day, and was the final selection shoot for the team for Rome. And as I say, it was a 2-man team with 1 reserve, and I was firmly in second place. All I had to do was shoot moderately well to wear the Olympic gold medals, which, rings, which for me would have been the biggest thing in my life. And I missed 8 targets out of 25 on 1 round of 25. Something I hadn't done for maybe 2 to 3 years. And something I didn't do for another 2 years. And I blew it. I lost it.